Welcome, 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 welcome. I'm so privileged and honored to be in your presence and have this opportunity to share with you lessons and inspirations of a lifetime. I'm Dr. Arnold Nierenberg. I've been a psychologist for 45 years and I'm 75 years of age. The title of today's lecture is The Philosophy of Destiny, a Revolution in Philosophy and in Objectivism. The Philosophy of Destiny, a Revolution in Philosophy and in Objectivism. Philosophies that exist now, most people are not interested in philosophy. And yet it's the mother foundation of all branches of knowledge. For instance, I'm a psychologist, but I have a Ph.D., which is a doctor of philosophy in psychology. You have somebody who's a physicist, they have a Ph.D. in physics. You have somebody who has a Ph.D. in English literature, it's a doctor of philosophy in English literature. Somebody else has a Ph.D. in cellular physiology. But the foundation began with philosophy. And a lot of people don't know that anymore. Why? Because for most people, they look at philosophy as just something with words. They may have a philosophy of their life that they try to live by, but it's not that systematic. And many people who have studied philosophy in college or in whatever their schooling is, don't even remember it. So anybody who studied, say, Nietzsche or Locke or Descartes, most people don't remember what they said. They say, yeah, I took a class, remember some of these things in philosophy, I don't remember what they said. So it didn't have the staying power because most people feel it's not relevant. But so when I'm calling this a revolution in philosophy, what makes it a revolution is because I'm going to show you the enormous relevance of the philosophy I'm going to bring to you today, tremendous relevance to your everyday life, to your everyday thoughts, your words, your actions. I'm going to demonstrate it to you. And what makes it more of a revolution is I'm going to show you, as part of the whole system of philosophy, how to internalize it so it becomes a part of you. So it's not a matter of, well, what did he say? I remember Dr. Nierenberg, I went to a lecture, it was just 2 years ago. You're not going to be going there because you're going to carry it with you. And so there's a revolution in two ways in terms of you're going to see the relevance to your lives. You're going to see the relevance to your lives of your loved ones, your parents, your children, your cousins and aunts and uncles, your friends, and most importantly, of course, in your own personal lives. That's a revolution. Because very few people on this planet could say, yes, I have a philosophy that impacts everything I do and everything I think. Now, a philosopher needs to manifest that philosophy, certainly in words. I'm giving a lecture today on philosophy. But let me tell you, to be truly a philosopher and have a particular philosophy, if your thoughts don't reflect that philosophy, your private thoughts, how relevant is it? If it's just something you talk about when you're giving a lecture or you're proselytizing to people about a philosophy, how relevant is it? I'm going to talk to you about a philosophy that becomes internalized into your thoughts. Because you manifest your philosophy not only by a lecture you give or something you write. See, philosophers of old would write a philosophy, people would read it and they go, oh, that's brilliant. And it could affect maybe politics or social movements to some extent and then be forgotten. So we're talking about a philosophy that will actually affect your thinking throughout your day. It's going to also affect your words and your actions. Now that's philosophy at its best. I'm going to talk to you about how that takes place, because part of the very philosophy itself is you must manifest this. The philosopher must live his philosophy. The philosopher teaches philosophy by how he lives. His life, his being itself, is a reflection of that philosophy. If he teaches one thing and professes one thing in a college class or in a lecture, but lives differently, he's a hypocrite. He's not really living that philosophy. The philosopher's thoughts must reflect the philosophy. His words must reflect that philosophy and his actions. Otherwise, it's hypocrisy. The very being of the philosopher must manifest that philosophy. He must live true to that philosophy, and his life has to be a testimony to the power of the philosophy. If he's a very weak individual who's just barely getting by, and has bad relationships, is not doing anything constructive with his life, and he espouses a tremendous philosophy, you go, that's not saying much for that philosophy. Sounds good, but look at the guy. And look at the people who espouse it. They're weak. They're failures in every sense of the word, morally and every other way. So what value is that? Because the being of the philosophy, this is why I'm calling it a revolution in philosophy and in objectivism. I'm going to talk to you about objectivistic philosophy as formulated by Ayn Rand. So you see now the foundation for what I'm talking about is a revolution in philosophy. Because we're talking about something to be relevant to every dimension of your life. Now that's offering you something. That's offering you something for now and the rest of your lives. Because philosophy should impact your life for the rest of your lives. Now in terms of objectivism, Ayn Rand wrote fantastic novels. Atlas Shrugged, Fountainhead, We the Living, The Virtue of Selfishness. Powerful novels that inspired just tens of thousands, maybe perhaps millions of individuals. Very inspiring characters in there that would inspire you to greater achievement in anybody's life who read it. What's unusual about Ayn Rand is that she wrote her philosophy in a form of drama and in terms of novels, some of which were put into movies. Usually a philosopher will sit there maybe on a mountaintop. You think it was a mountaintop, sitting there writing a philosophy or whatever, sitting in a library, reading books, whatever. No, she wrote it and wrote tremendously interesting novels with powerful characters that demonstrated the philosophy. And the themes were the virtue of productivity. When you read the novel, you say, yeah, you want to manifest that yourself. You want to manifest also the rational, reason and rationality are highly emphasized in her system, as well as rational self-interest. So the self-interest is very focused on what's good for me, but in a rational way. Individuality, reason, freedom, and ultimately in terms of a social system, it would be capitalism and valuing the contributions of the entrepreneur who brings new visions to the world, new businesses to the world, creates jobs, the ones who move the world. It's the entrepreneurs who really move the world. They create a cash flow from it and finances what they're doing, and of course it finances their lifestyles. I would say it's the entrepreneur, and Ayn Rand correctly captured that, it's really the entrepreneur who moves the world. It's not the university professors. It's not the people who are just the intellectuals. It's really the entrepreneur who takes the risk and puts into practice or gets their inventions and develops their systems and takes a risk and works at it and is devoted to what that business is that they're creating. Now, so when we talk about a philosophy of destiny, and I'm going to show how it's really a revolution. I've already talked about the revolution in philosophy, but also it's a revolution in objectivism. So what I'm going to do, before I get going with that, I'm going to read a little something I wrote, building on what I've talked about in terms of objectivism. And I call it Beyond the Heroic, because the characters that she has are just incredible people. The idea, whatever they did, if it was somebody flipping hamburgers, the person would cook the best hamburgers and had a skill and an efficiency of movement. Somebody designing and building skyscrapers, it would be incredible skyscrapers. Somebody's building a bridge, it'd be a bridge that could just hold tonnage never even heard of before. Just enormous achievements of great thinkers, of motivated people, of the people who really make the world go. And those are the people she captured. But whatever station a person was at, to manifest it with pride, that work, and a sense of purpose. But in essence, the heroic involves putting oneself in harm's way to protect others. That's typically how a hero is seen. It's like a soldier. He's a hero, or she's a hero because he or she's willing to put himself or herself in harm's way to protect others. Objectivism goes beyond the heroic and recognizes it as but one important dimension in a broader concept: greatness. True greatness is rooted in understanding and action taken upon that understanding of the following. So this is what I'm bringing up to. So true greatness, to attain true greatness, and this is what I'm bringing in terms of the philosophy of destiny. And we're going to talk about what is destiny, how I define it, and how it's manifested. But I bring you this concept. To achieve true greatness, you have to understand this. Enshrined within your deepest struggle, is the seed of your nobility, your destiny, and your legacy. To achieve greatness, we arise to the struggle, we reach into where it is, we don't back down, we stay with it, and we pull out the gem, whether it's an achievement of a building or overcoming a mental state within ourselves, the struggle against our own ego, the struggle to achieve happiness, whatever it is, we find the meaning within that struggle, and how depends how you deal with a struggle, you can achieve nobility. A person who just whines and complains about his or her struggle, there's no dignity in that. But a person who says, well, that made me stronger, then there's a dignity in it. I'll give you a case of some of my patients in terms of manifesting this philosophy. I had a patient, he came in, big, powerful looking guy, all tatted up, tattoos going right up into his neck and then even partially on his face. Powerful looking guy. He worked in the oil fields they call roughnecks. And he said, Doc, I lost everything. I lost everything. My wife left me for another man. She took my kids. I lost my kids. I even lost my home. I've lost everything. And I said, you know, as a man, I feel compassion for your loss. I know you've suffered deeply. But I said, for such a powerful looking man, that's a very wimpy story. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, yeah, it looks like you just feel sorry for yourself. And anybody hearing that story will feel sorry for you. But within that struggle is your nobility. What if I told you to tell the full story about what happened would give you dignity and nobility, and there's even legacy in it and destiny in it? He says, yeah, what? I lost everything. I said, in talking to you, I'll tell you this. And this is the true story about yourself. Are you ready? He said, yeah, let me hear it. I've lost everything, but I've gained myself. I've lost everything, but I've gained myself. And he looked at me. And I saw him lighting up. You know, I have gained myself. I lost everything, but I did gain myself. I did. And I saw it take hold in him. And I went up to him and I said, behold, a true man is born before my eyes. And I hugged him and I said, I'm so proud of you. And he's leaving here. He went to the reception. He said, you know, I lost everything, but I have gained myself. But he took that and he left it that way. So part of the philosophy of destiny, and as you're going to see, involves honor, but you also see the nobility. So within a person who follows the philosophy, the antithesis is feeling sorry for yourself, or seeing yourself strictly as a victim. Now, to some extent, he was a victim. It was a terrible thing that happened, but it went into a story of a pathetic story, a true pathetic story, into a story of conquest, of nobility. Essentially, the philosophy of destiny allows us to transform tribulation into triumph. So the goal of the whole philosophy is on a day-to-day basis transforming tribulation into triumph. And that can only be achieved when certain thoughts have been internalized. And I'm going to tell you about those thoughts that are that integral part of the philosophy. I had a woman come to me just in tears. So they shot her son. They shot my son. He's in the hospital. He's in stable condition. In fact, they shot him 9 times. And she was just weeping. And I said, look, I have 7 children. I feel tremendous compassion. This is one of the worst things that can happen to a parent, that happening to your son. I said, I feel tremendous compassion. I said, but what if I told you that if you look at the full way of looking at what happened to your son, that there's nobility and dignity for you as his mother and for him as somebody who was shot? She said, Doc, how can that be? I said, let me tell you. Here's what it is, and this is going to manifest to you the philosophy of destiny. Here's the story, the true story, the full true story. They shot my son 9 times, but they couldn't kill him because he has a purpose in life. Now, she was a religious person. I said, well, God has a purpose for him. Or if you don't believe in God, you go, there's a purpose in my life. I'm alive for a purpose. They shot him. They shot my son 9 times. They couldn't kill him because God has a purpose for him. Or the other way, saying that he has a purpose in his life that needs to that will manifest, that needs to manifest. I want to tell you something. She just turned into smiles. That way of looking at it in terms of the philosophy of destiny. Here, when she left, a woman who deeply loves her son, who her son shot 9 times, was in stable condition in the hospital, leaving happy. Nothing changed. He still was shot 9 times, but the way she looked at it changes, and that's what the philosophy of destiny does. It gives you a perspective so that you see it in the noblest terms. Because what every human being suffers from, the cause of human misery in all societies from the beginning of time till now to the end of time, is this: loss of perspective. To suffer and feel it's meaningless is a horrible, it adds to the suffering, but feel your suffering has meaning, changes the quality of the suffering, and there's a loss of perspective. Person says, oh, I see the nature of the universe. Yes, I do. I see the full nature of reality. Yes, I lost my job. My son's in the hospital. I lost my spouse. I lost my house. That's the nature of reality. That's my metaphysical definition of reality is this problem. But they say, well, and it's true, that's a problem. But you have this finger, this finger, this finger, this finger, this finger, this eye, and it goes on for an infinite number of things that you have to be grateful for, but there's a loss of perspective. So the philosophy of destiny advocates a keeping and a promoting of maintaining perspective. That's why I'm calling it a revolution in philosophy, actually maintaining perspective, because the cause of all human suffering is loss of perspective within this philosophical system. So enshrined within your deepest struggles, the seed of your nobility, your destiny, and your legacy. The rational faculty grasps the reality that our time to live while we walk upon this earth is limited. So time and life is of the highest value, time and life, and that's where life and the idea of a joyful life is very congruent then with objectivism. But it's keeping in mind that money is super important, but time is a limited amount. You only have so much time. And therefore, there is no time to waste in trivial pursuits. No time to waste in trivial pursuits. So in terms of the philosophy of destiny, time is seen of the essence, and it precludes wasting our time in trivialities. Mortality dictates to make productive use of our limited time. People are squandering their time. They're squandering their words. People are talking about nothing. They're talking about nonsense compared to what matters. In terms of what matters, people are talking about what? If you look at it, very superficial things. Well, within this philosophy is to bring about a productive use of the time we have left. God willing, you have 100 years, but let me tell you about time. I'm 75 years old, and I tell this to people with all sincerity. I'm going to tell it to you. What I'm going to say is true. Yesterday, and I mean this with all sincerity, I was 28. Yesterday, I was 28. I'm not exaggerating. I'm 75. Your life will go like that. And then if you want to look back and say you use your time to be productive, to do something meaningful, you want to squander your time. So this philosophy incorporates a time management towards something meaningful and productive. Our mortality dictates to make productive use of our limited time. All else is irrational. It's irrational to waste that time. You've got a limited amount of this commodity, time. It's irrational to waste it. It doesn't make any sense to waste it. It's wasteful. To trivialize our existence with superficial conversations and activities is the antithesis to a rational existence. How can you claim to be a rational human being if you're trivializing your existence, we're wasting it on very trivial matters, trivial conversations. I mean, some amount of trivial things, you have to say, pass the salt, please. You know, the time to pass the salt, different things. We joke around, we do things. It could be a deep joking, not a deep joking. But certainly you want to get a large percentage of your time towards something that matters. You want to kick back and do nothing, that's good too. You really need to do nothing to regenerate. But you're doing that so that you can move forward towards your destiny. And we're going to talk more about destiny. It is time to more fully expand the objectivism brought to us by Ayn Rand. She only partially understood the full foundation and implications of the philosophical system she so skillfully inspired in her novels, and what she and Nathaniel Branden developed in the early days of the movement. Now, I read all these books when I was young. I was talking to my cousins, spent hundreds of hours, went to their classes in 1965 in New York City when I was at Columbia University. And I'd go to New York City and listen to those talks, spend time talking to Nathaniel Branden. He lived in a hotel room back then. I'd be in that room and we'd have some good conversations. Because of their failure to grasp the full nature of which they spoke, their ideas have been impotent to motivate the further development of true objectivism. I mean, most people haven't even heard of objectivism. Even if they read the novels, they haven't heard of objectivism. It's been impotent to do this. And as with all systems of thought, became calcified into a rigid structure which could not expand beyond the limitations of the characters in her novels. So objectivism didn't expand, didn't go anywhere. Like most systems, most religious thought, most philosophical, it becomes rigidified. You get people get into it in a very rigid way, and it doesn't expand. It needs to be, a true philosophy needs to be an organic, breathing, living way. A living, breathing, organic way. Otherwise, it loses its relevance, and you get people who are very narrow in it, and then it becomes an orthodoxy. And if you're outside that thought, you can't innovate because then you're a heretic within that system. You're a heretic. So you're advocating this, well, you're outside the system. And the founder brought what they brought, but typically they don't even understand the full ramifications, particularly when we talk about philosophers, Nietzsche or Ayn Rand, whomever. It is now time for new life to be breathed into what they have brought. And this can only be achieved by understanding that the achievements witnessed by the characters in Ayn Rand's novels and expounded by her and Nathaniel Branden in a more full intellectual system is based on one process that has not been sufficiently addressed. They did not understand a particular process well enough. And that process they didn't understand well enough was thought and volition. Because the philosophy I'm bringing you now is related to your thoughts, and your thoughts are the foundation for your words and your actions. Thought, they did not understand it. They didn't fully grasp that we can choose our thoughts. Within the philosophy of destiny, we're not defined by the thoughts we have. No, we're not. The thoughts that pop into your mind do not define who you are. That's based on your genetics, your family upbringing, societal norms. You never chose them. You never chose to have a thought, I want to punch this guy in the mouth. I'm jealous of this person. You didn't choose these thoughts. They don't even define you. How could you take responsibility for a thought you never chose or a philosophy you never chose? You can't. You're the thought you choose to have, and I'm going to show you the power to choose thoughts. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate it right now. I'm going to give you a couple of demonstrations. This shows the power of volition. They didn't understand the full power of volition. Right now, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to demonstrate this power right now for you live, everyone watching or listening or being in our audience. Right now, have a pleasant memory. Think of something today that was pleasant, a meal you had that you enjoyed, somebody you saw that you loved. Have that thought right now. Now, I know something about each of you. One, I know before I asked you to do that, you weren't thinking about it. That thought popped out of nowhere, and now that I'm talking to you again, it's gone. It's like magic. Boom, there it was, there it's gone. And I know that it came to you naturally, flawlessly, and easily. You could ask a 6-year-old to do it, and a 6-year-old could do it. This philosophy can be practiced from early throughout a person's entire life. As soon as the rational faculties are developing, as soon as language is developing, it can be practiced. But look what you did. Look what you did. You don't even appreciate it until I tell you what you did, really. You chose the polarity. It was a positive thought. It was a pleasant memory. It wasn't a negative. It was positive. And you chose the time dimension. It was the past. So you're able, at will, boom, like that, perfectly, every time, able to choose the polarity and time dimension of your thought. And you just demonstrated. And if I stood here all day long, if I stood here for eternity, kept asking you to do it, you would do it through eternity. You could do it every time, flawlessly, naturally, rapidly. Let's get even more specific. Let's take the thought, I wish you well. I want you to repeat that thought to yourself 3 times. I know, again, you did it. Every one of you did. I don't need a show of hands. I know everybody had that thought. You chose the full content of your thought. You chose to do that. I wish you well. You did it 3 times. This is the foundation. This power of volition is the whole foundation for the philosophy of destiny. Because we can choose our thoughts. We certainly can choose our destiny, as we'll come to see. Yeah, because thoughts are destiny. Thoughts will lead to your destiny. If you're having very mundane, just trivial thoughts, negative thoughts all the time, you're going to have a negative destiny. But if you're choosing uplifting and lofty thoughts, you'll transcend, and you'll have a great life, and a happy life, and a productive life. So there are certain thoughts which will allow the manifestation of greatness, and others which will suppress it. There can be no greatness without honor, and there can be no greatness without a definition and manifesting of destiny. There must be honor, and there must be destiny, and we're going to talk about that. There'll only be, without honor and without greatness, there will only be mediocrity. There will only be mediocrity unless the rational mind embraces this reality. And the reality is this: I choose honor above all else. I choose honor above all else. That thought needs to be internalized. We're going to talk about how to do that. I'll give you a little heads up. It involves repeating certain thoughts 3 times a day for life and taking a pledge to do it. So this philosophy has the full internalization process built in, unlike any prior philosophies. I have developed and lived the full reality of this philosophical system of destiny and honor. And this system of thought is a fulfillment of objectivism, but I only teach it to those who prove to me they are fully committed. It is not a path for the weak. It is not a path for the weak, or for those who are not willing to commit their lives to rationally serving their destinies. It's not for the weak. It is not. And it's not for people who are not willing to commit their lives to serving their destinies. While I bring it for those objectivists who will arise to manifest greatness with no excuses, and as to why they cannot do it. We don't want excuses why you can't do it. There's no room in this philosophy for excuses. Then and only then are you worthy to be your own version of John Galt. John Galt was one of the great heroes in Ayn Rand's novels. So I've given you some of the foundation of it. You've seen the role of volition. Well, now we're going to talk about what is destiny. How am I defining destiny? Well, let me give you in terms of a livelihood, ways to start thinking about your destiny. A job is something you do from 9 to 5 to pay your bills. A career is a job you enjoy. A calling is a career you would do for free if you could afford to. And a destiny is a calling you would actually pay to do if you could afford to do it. A destiny is a calling you would actually pay to do it if you could afford to, because it's that meaningful to you, that important to you, you would actually pay to do it. Of course, we want to make money at it, make a livelihood, but you know it's a destiny when it has that quality. And a destiny is something that has to uplift humanity, uplifting yourself and humanity. And when you're serving your destiny, there's no such thing as working. When I see my patients, I say, look, you're paying me a lot of money. Do I look like I'm working? They'll say, no, you don't. I say, no, because I'm serving my destiny. This isn't work. Nothing else I'd rather be doing than sitting here with you right now talking about what we're talking about. So this is then an important, this is a dimension of the revolution in philosophy and revolution in objectivism as people learning to serve their destiny. And it turns out, at least in America, at least in this country, it's not true for all countries, nobody really wants a job. Nobody. They don't want jobs. They want at least a career, calling, but most really, to truly, fully live the rational, productive life, you have to serve your destiny. And ultimately, you want to make your livelihood at it, but you may have to have something else you're doing while you're doing that. If you're not serving your destiny, you cannot fully live. And for most people, you cannot live your full destiny working for somebody else. Most people, the structure of the job you're in, or even the career you're in, you will not be able to manifest the full possibilities of your life. Now, many of you say, well, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got to do this. Fine, you got to do it. But in terms of the philosophy of destiny, you cannot reach the rational self-interest of ultimate happiness unless you're serving destiny. So you need to find a way within, if you have a job or career, of a way to then incorporating, or at least have a plan towards your destiny. So if you have a job right now, I'm paying my bills, I'm not going to quit and all of a sudden just do nothing, start looking around what my destiny is. You want to find, at least start having a plan, a very specific plan. This is the destiny. This is what I would actually pay to do. This is something that I want to do, that I could uplift the world through this. I can make a difference. And ultimately, making a difference, because in terms of the philosophy of destiny, you have to fulfill your purpose. What is your purpose? I want to tell you a twofold part of your purpose. One is adding value to society, adding value to your life, your loved ones' lives, and to the lives of society. If you're making money, selling cigarettes to people, and you become rich, and they say, look, he's so successful, he's rich, but there's no honor in that. That's not a destiny. That's a perversion to make money. There's no honor in it. So we're going to talk about honor. You have to make your livelihood by adding value. There's no value in that cigarette. And iron, there's no value in it. And we're going to see the role of health playing a very important role in the philosophy of destiny. Because without health, you won't be able to maximize your serving your destiny. You must have your health. Health is an important dimension of the philosophy of destiny. So that's why I'm calling this a revolution in philosophy and a revolution in objectives. You must have your health. And you cannot just count on your doctors. It's your body, your health. You must understand the nature of allopathic medicine and alternative medicine, herbs, foods, food supplements. There's a lot of research on it. And ultimately, exercise as a medicine, you must understand thoughts as medicine. I bring to you the concept of thoughts as medicine within the concept of health, which is a part of the philosophy of destiny. You cannot serve your destiny if you're lying in bed crippled. You can, but it's a lot tougher. You need to have your full vitality. What will energize your vitality so that you can manifest your destiny? You must know what your destiny is, arise to serve it. That in itself will energize you. And then through the proper exercise and nutrition, and I've given many lectures on it, it's all part of the philosophy. I myself am a world champion powerlifter, a world champion bodybuilder. I live the philosophy I teach. I took the title strongest man in the world for my age and weight when I was 65 with prostate cancer. So again, I saw the urologist, and this is them manifesting the philosophy of destiny. He said, Dr. Nirenberg, you tested positive for prostate cancer, and it's not a little bit, it's an intermediate amount, and it's somewhat aggressive. It's a Gleason of 7. My face went numb. And then I said to him, that's great. He said, well, what? I said, that's great. I said, this prostate cancer, I will gain power from this prostate cancer, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I will gain power from this prostate cancer, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So once you're endued with, or you internalize the philosophy of destiny, then it all becomes fuel to be burned in the furnace of destiny. It all becomes fuel to be burned in the furnace of destiny. So the prostate cancer then became that fuel. And creation, the beauty of the world was incredible to me. I never seen it so poignantly and beautiful. A veil lifted. I felt so much love for other people, so connected more than I ever did because I didn't know how long I was going to be here. And I took the title strongest man in the world for my age and my weight at that time. At 65, drug-free, no wraps, no scraps, no bench press shirt, I bench pressed 365 pounds. 2 years later, I set a world record on a T-bar strongman pull of 270 pounds. Then I continued to set world records. At 71, I hung 140 pounds in a chain belt and did a pull-up. These were world records. There are many other world records which will be shown now on the DVD.
Good. 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 75.
You got it! 24, 25, 26, 27. Yeah! 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 Yeah!
Ready, Hugh?
Mm-hmm. One, 2, 3, 4.
I'm going to do a power grip. My record to date is 255 pounds. I'm going to go for another record today with my witnesses here. Let's see how it goes. But I'm strong. I'm feeling it. Oh, I'm pumped. All right, 261 pounds.
Go, 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 go. Come on, you can do it. Go, 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 go.
Yeah! Inverter power hang, 72 years old.
So the health is an important part. And when I say, as I said at the beginning, for a philosopher must live his philosophy in terms of not just words, actions, but even thoughts. And we're going to talk about how the thoughts work in a moment. So you must have, in terms of the philosophy of destiny, the idea of gaining power from hardship. So in whatever enterprise you have, whatever pursuit you have, whether you want to be a driver, professional truck driver, you want to be the best janitor you could be, or you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a physician or psychologist, whatever, you must understand how to draw power from hardship. Because I guarantee you, you will fail. You will go through failures. You will go through setbacks. You will go through disappointments on whatever you're pursuing. And if you're not equipped to deal with that, if you don't have the right philosophy about those setbacks, you will crumble. You will be the wreckage that's strewn all over the world of people just laying on the side with broken dreams. And all of you have some dream. You had a dream since you were a child. You have a dream of what life could be for you. And it's the goal of the philosophy of destiny to kindle that, to have a living philosophy, a breathing, organic philosophy. Now, you must seek to gain power from hardship. You must seek to gain power from hardship. Strength athletes like myself, we deeply understand it. You know how we understand it? We don't wait for hardship to come to us. No. We go after the hardship. We lift that weight. Yeah! We'll lift it. Yeah! You know, it's just you look at the face, the grimacing. We bring the hardship on. We're causing injury, what I call constructive injuries to our muscles, to our tendons, to our ligaments. Why would a rational human being bring that hardship, that damage to his muscles that way? Why? Because we know without a doubt that we're going to come back bigger and stronger with the proper nutrition and rest. We know we're going to come back bigger and stronger. And that's how your other hardships are going to be in life. You're going to come back stronger from it. You already know that. All the hardships that you've been through have made you stronger, wiser, more compassionate, stronger in so many ways. So we come to the concept of honor. And then an important part, a dimension, an essential dimension of the philosophy of destiny is honor, and to be a disciple of honor. So there are 4 commandments of honor that must be repeated 3 times a day. So it becomes internalized. So that when they're internalized, whatever happens in our lives, we're able to tell ourselves the best true stories about our worst problems. If you don't succeed in telling yourself the best true stories about your worst problems, you will be crushed by your employer, by your spouse, by the betrayals, because you will be betrayed. Make no doubts about that. You've already experienced it, and it's just the beginning. The longer you live, the more the betrayals are. People will betray you for money, sex, and power. Typically why people will betray you. One of those 3. And it will happen, not only to you, but you've done it to other people, which there was no honor in it. Now, as you become a disciple of honor, you're agreeing to repeat these 4 thoughts 3 times a day for the rest of your life. So the way we internalize, what's so unique and a revolution in this philosophy, it's a philosophy that becomes internalized into your thought itself, into your thought in such a way that you get it keeps you with a proper perspective, where you don't lose the perspective, and we're able to tell yourself the best true stories about your worst problems. And the 4 commandments are these. For those people who believe in God, it's God, your wish is my only wish. For people who don't wish to address God or don't believe in God, I seek always to serve my highest values. Now, this is a very consistent, that's a very consistent with objectives, to serve your highest values. So you're going to use one or the other. But there's a third one that can be used as the first commandment. You can use one of these 3. The third one is, I choose honor above all else. I choose honor above all else. So think for a moment which one is most meaningful to you. God, your wish is my only wish? I seek always to serve my highest values. I choose honor above all else. The second commandment of honor is I wish you well. I wish you well. And the wishing of well, when we wish others well, we're able to release them, release whatever's going on, whatever resentments, because what will destroy your ability to fulfill your destiny is your own negativity, your resentments, your jealousies, your angers will destroy your ability to manifest your destiny. You cannot be consumed by that negativity. It will make you sick. It'll compromise your psychological immune system. It'll compromise your physiological immune system. So to be able to serve your destiny, you must have your health. To have your health, you can't be consumed with negativity. Absolutely not. Somebody may have done something to you. You do something you can to neutralize it. But if they stab you, you don't take the knife and go like this. What you do right now, somebody stabs you, typically do this. I want to get you. I know where you live. I want to give you a flat tire. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to whatever. And you go on and on. And you just, it's all right to sue the guy. So I'm going to just sue him. Or what I'm going to do what I have to do to neutralize it. But you're staying with it too long. So you're just taking a knife and going, well, I wish you well. I'll take you to court, but I do wish the best for you. But, this isn't good for me, and it's not good for you, what you did to me. So I wish you well is the second commandment of honor. The third commandment is, and this is crucial, and certainly any objectivist would be totally on board with, I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. This takes you out of the area of blaming and victimization. I co-created this. 99% of the time you co-create it. Once in a while there's a true victim. You're walking by, somebody shoots you, probably your victim. Unless you were pointing a gun at him, in which case you co-created it. But if you're just walking along, minding your business, somebody shoots you, well then that's a victim. But 99.9% of the time you co-created the negativity. Somebody else may have started an argument with you, but if you get into it, you're feeding it, you're co-creating. You didn't start it, but you're co-creating the negativity. Can't go around blaming and feeling this victim story and be able to manifest your destiny. They don't go together. There's no room for that wimpiness, that whining, that complaining. There's no room for weakness in the philosophy of destiny. You don't have that luxury. Time is limited. Time is limited. So to manifest your destiny, it takes time to be able to bring the full. I'm 75. I'm busier and more excited about it, more passionate about what I'm doing than I've been in my entire life, because I see what I'm bringing now is far greater than before. Now, if I can, I'd like to live at least 50 years more. I'd like to go because I really see how this to bring. I'm doing everything I can. Then it's out of my hands beyond that. I'm doing all I can to do that. So part of the philosophy is to live a long, healthy, happy life as long as you can. To do that, you have to understand health. So it's your responsibility, not your doctor's responsibility. It's your responsibility. So take responsibility for your health. Or you must love life. Loving life is key in objectivism, and loving life is key in the philosophy of destiny. And I want to tell you something. I find most people don't love life that much. What, Doc? I love life. No, you don't. You're smoking and you're telling me you love life? I mean, you don't believe in science? We know it's going to kill you. You're 40 pounds overweight. You keep eating all those tacos and jelly beans and everything else. What do you love more, the taco or your life? Well, people say, well, you all got to die sometime. I'm going to enjoy myself while I'm here. Yeah, but guess what? You may not have a death like that where you die in your sleep. You may have a point where you're dying over a 10-year period slowly. And it's not consistent with being a rational being to do things to destroy your own life, because life is the highest value, life, and the time that goes with it. You want to maximize that time and also to manifest your destiny. So if you're doing self-destructive behaviors, the negativity, and eating foods that you know are bad for you, and I know every one of you are, you're eating things, I know I shouldn't eat this, and you eat it. I know it. I know it. I remember being at a restaurant one time. This guy, about 4 kids with him sitting at the table. We got to talking. He says, well, I'm diabetic. He said, I'm on insulin and so forth, and we talked. So I started eating my breakfast, and I see the waitress bringing out his meal. It was a stack of pancakes, white flour, which turns into glucose in your bloodstream. No difference between that white flour and sugar that turns into glucose. Then he takes maple syrup and he drowns it in maple syrup. And his kids are sitting there, he's doing it. And I looked at him and I said, hey, I don't mean to meddle in your affairs, but you just tell me you're diabetic? He says, yeah, but I just can't resist it. Later, his son came to me and thanked me for taking an interest in his father's health. So you can't tell me that man loves life more than that syrup. He liked that sweet taste. And you're not going to tell me you love life more than the foods and the destructive things you're doing. What you say doesn't matter. If I said to him, hey, what do you love more, life or the pancakes? He would have said life, but he's eating the pancake. He would say, oh, I love my life more than the syrup, but he's eating the syrup, and he's diabetic. And you're doing the same thing. I'm telling you, but you're doing the same thing in the context of your life. You're doing things that you know are dangerous and bad for you. It's totally inconsistent with the philosophy of destiny. When you, as a disciple of honor, you follow what I'm talking about. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions don't allow for those behaviors. It's irrational. You can't say you love life and smoke. You just can't do it. You're in denial of science. Absolutely. You're in denial of facts. Because the essence, the foundation of objectives and the foundation of the philosophy of destiny is reality, is fact. You can't eat that pile of pancakes and drown it in maple syrup and say you love life. You just can't do it. You can't light up a cigarette and start smoking and tell me you love life. You just can't do it. It's hypocrisy. And you're all hypocrites. I've been a hypocrite my life and no longer. But I know each one of you are doing. You got to make a decision. Do you want to live a rational life where time is of the essence and you stop these self-destructive behaviors? Don't lie to yourself. If you don't love your life, say, I don't love life that much. I like this hamburger more. I like this taco more than my life. To be honest, I don't care. You know, people say, we all got to die sometime. I'm going to enjoy my life. Well, yeah, you're not going to you might enjoy your life, but then how much you're going to enjoy your death? Yeah, especially you stroke out, you get a heart attack, you're an invalid, you can't move, you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself. Then tell me how much you loved life that you could have prevented that. All right. And you all know somebody that's done that. In fact, you've done it. I've done it. I don't do it anymore. You still do it. Now, so the fourth commandment, so I take full responsibility for co-creating my reality and my problems. And the fourth commandment of honor is, I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. I'm grateful for the power I gain from hardship. You're not grateful for the hardship. I'm not grateful for that prostate cancer. Who in his right mind wants a cancer? Grateful for the power I got. It motivated me. I became more awake through it. I'm grateful for that, extremely grateful. And I was grateful then, not just in retrospect, but when I was going through it, which leads, by the way, to the best medical prognosis. To enhance all the medical prognosis and all medical interventions are these thoughts, those four thoughts. Now, the part of the philosophy is to take a pledge to be a disciple of honor. So to be a person who practices the philosophy of destiny, you would need to take the pledge to be a disciple of honor, which is saying, I agree to repeat those four thoughts. You got an option of one of three. God, you wish my only wish. Seek always to serve my highest values. I choose honor above all else. One of those, and then the other three. Okay, raise your right hands. As a disciple of honor, I pledge myself for all the days of my life to the four commandments of honor. And I'll teach them to those I love. I'll repeat them every morning, afternoon, and evening. And I'll listen to myself recite them. Welcome to the brotherhood, welcome to the sisterhood as disciples of honor, as practitioners of the philosophy of destiny. Those four thoughts will have a physiological effect. When you say those thoughts, you don't get a good feeling, you won't get a bad feeling. Taking the pledge, I've interviewed 250 people so far, about 230, who have taken the pledge. 100% say they feel good when they take it, 100% say they feel more hope, and about 95% say they feel more meaning in their lives. So this then releases a more rational existence. Without being a disciple of honor, you cannot live fully rational, noble life. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. And to be a man of honor or a woman of honor, you then have to integrate the masculine and feminine principle with noble character. The essence of the masculine principle is to arise to the struggle. The essence of the feminine principle is nurturance and love. And noble character involves truthfulness, loyalty, keeping your word, service to yourself, family, community, and for those who believe in God, service to God. So there's room within the philosophy of destiny for atheists, for agnostics, and for believers. Nobody's excluded. There's room for the hardcore empiricist and a room for the mystic. It cuts across all lines, all philosophical lines, all religious lines, all ethnic and genders. Cuts right across it. Now, where we make an improvement over objectivism, objectivism really stresses the individuality. And it's not stated exactly, but it's almost like, I don't need anybody, I'm sufficient unto myself. There's that feeling with an objectivist. I mean, that's an illusion. It's not real, it's not factual. It's not. It's a limitation of objectivistic philosophy that Ayn Rand developed. We have it in our movies, you see Clint Eastwood riding into the sunset by himself. He just doesn't need anybody's help. He rides at the end as the hero. It's just not true. Absolutely not true. Does not recognize the interdependence that we all have on each other. My father said to me many years ago, he said, son, if you could have all the wealth in the world, all the gold, all the real estate, all the yachts, all the cars, everything with one catch. I said, what's that, Dad? He said, you'd be the only human being on this earth. Would you want that wealth? No. No rational, normal human being wants that. He said, son, that shows how desperately we need each other. So the limitation of objectivism is an exaggerated sense of independence. It's exaggerated. It's implied and it's exaggerated. No, we really desperately need one another. That's what gives meaning to what we're doing. So that part is an advance over the objectivism that now exists. The other dimension of the philosophy of destiny is the idea that you have the right to be who you really are as long as the expression of your true self is done in a respectfully real manner. That's with kindness, wisdom, and respect of boundaries. You say to somebody, you know what, bro, I can't stand you, I hate you, think you're ugly, I don't want to see you, you're just being real. Well, no, that doesn't fit with the philosophy of destiny. You want respectfully real communication might go this way. Hey, when you said what you did, I felt hurt and humiliated. If you could find in your heart to apologize, I'd be grateful. That creates a bridge or a connection, because otherwise you're going to lose energy in a negative communication. We don't want to lose energy. We have to have our energy for what? To live and to serve our destiny. You don't want to squander it in these meaningless, trivial types of things that creates a very negative loop going between you and the other person. And of course, you must understand the nature of the warrior and a process of aging. I'm 75. You have people, 50. I've got people 95 who we disciples of honor who are going to follow the philosophy of destiny. So you have a senior citizen who wants comfort, fun, and enjoyment, and nobody in his right mind wants to be a senior citizen. Then you have an honored elder who wants those things and has self-respect, saying, I'm also a repository of historical knowledge and wisdom. That's a step above a senior citizen, an honored elder. Then you have a master warrior who says, wants all those same things, but in addition says, I have a purpose in my life, and I seek to gain power from hardship. So ultimately, the concept of the warrior. Now, the warrior is different than the hero. The hero is someone who steps in harm's way to protect others. A warrior faces hardship and seeks to gain power from it. So what can you do to a warrior? You can only make him stronger. What can you do to me? Cut my right arm off, I'll make my left arm stronger. What are you going to do? So once you have the warrior's mentality, and you incorporate that at whatever age, and certainly as you're aging, going from senior citizen to honored elder to master warrior, and certainly being a warrior at whatever age. Warrior doesn't mean taking a gun and go shooting. It means seeking to gain power from hardship. This is an all integrated part of the philosophy of destiny, and what I'm calling a revolution in philosophy and in objectivism. Well, I want to say it's been a great privilege, a great honor. I've enjoyed doing this with you enormously. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you.